edit log.
Yeah, we have total 5 daemon services, right?
Yeah, but
What
we
are
have
those?
only discussed name node and secondary name node.
Yes,
The
we
5
discussed
dimensions
about.
are name node, secondary name node, data node, resource manager, and node manager.
Yeah, and what are HDFS daemons?
Name node, secondary name node, and data node.
Yeah, and what are MapReduce daemons?
Resource manager and node manager, or we can
Yeah,
say
in
job
this
tracker.
five, yeah, job tracker and task tracker. And in these 5 daemons, what are master daemons and what are the slave daemons?
Master name daemon are name node, resource manager, and the secondary name node.
Yes, and what are slave daemons?
Data node and node manager.
Yeah, and what is the use of name node?
Name node is basically used for storing the metadata.
Yeah, metadata. So metadata means what type of data it will store?
It will store how many blocks, what is the block size, how many times we have to replicate, how much data it should be in the data node, which loads
Yeah.
is working good, which is not working good, how many jobs are running.
Yes, good. Yeah, this will maintain this type of data, like nothing but metadata, right?
Yeah.
So name node having two meta, how it will maintain the metadata? It is having two
Because,
meta files, right?
yes, edit log and fs image.
Edit log and fs image. Yeah. So whenever name node is storing the metadata, first time it will put the metadata into edit log, and
Yes.
after some time, so after 1 hour, the metadata permanently moves to
fs image.
Yeah. And the metadata permanently stores into fs image only. And edit log is a temporary file. You store the metadata temporarily, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And what is the use of secondary name node?
Secondary name node, in case if name node go down or fails, so secondary node act as a backup for that. So meta
Yes.
files, edit log and fs image are copied in the secondary name node, and secondary
Yes.
node need have that meta files, but it will not perform any other task.
Yeah, exactly. So for each, actually, name node maintain the metadata in the form of edit log and fs image, and each and every one of our, whatever the meta files are there, the meta files each and every one will copy into secondary name node. So if any case the name node will going down or fails, then that we can use the name secondary name node. It is act as a backup for name node, right?
Right.
Yeah. And what is the use of data nodes?
Data node, these are used for these act as slave. They have all the informations about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Data nodes are actually will convert into slave missions, and data nodes are used for storing the actual data, right?
Yeah.
So whatever
Encapsulated.
the data, whatever the data we are putting into the cluster, the data will be stored by name node. Name node divide the data into blocks. Then it will distribute that blocks into available
Data node.
data nodes and slave missions. Okay. Yeah. And today we'll discuss about MapReduce services. Okay. So what is the use of MapReduce actually?
MapReduce is basically used for processing of our data. Like HDFS is storage, it's used for
Yes.
processing of our data.
Yeah. So basically, MapReduce is used for data processing. So after putting the data in HDFS Hadoop cluster, then if you want to process the data, we can use the MapReduce.
MapReduce.
So, yeah. So basically, MapReduce, it is a programming language, and if we want to write the MapReduce code, we can use Core Java or any one of the programming language we can use. So after writing the MapReduce code, whenever we'll submit the MapReduce job, the MapReduce will execute the job into all the slave missions, right? So
Right.
when submit the MapReduce job, what happened internally? We'll discuss today. Okay. So basically, what are the MapReduce services? Job tracker and task tracker, right? So what is the use of job tracker and what is the use of task tracker? We'll discuss. So basically, in one.x Hadoop, we call it as a job tracker and task tracker. In two.x Hadoop, we call it as a resource manager, node manager. That is the only difference, okay?
Resource manager and node manager.
Yeah, resource manager and node manager.
Okay.
In two.x Hadoop. In one.x Hadoop, it is a job tracker, task tracker.
Okay.
Okay. So now we'll discuss about job tracker and task tracker. So job tracker, it is a master service, and task tracker, it is a slave service. So at the time of cluster setup, we'll configure job tracker into master mission, and each and every slave mission compulsory we have to configure one task tracker. Okay. So here, after storing the data in HDFS, okay, in HDFS, now we want to process this data. If we want to process the data in Hadoop, we can use MapReduce. So basically, MapReduce, it is a programming language. We have to write the MapReduce code. After writing the MapReduce code, okay, after writing the MapReduce code, whenever you will submit the MapReduce job, okay, whenever you will submit the MapReduce job, then whatever the job we are submitting, the job will immediately receive by job tracker. Okay, received by job tracker, and job tracker is existing master mission, right? So job tracker receive the job, and at the time of writing the code, okay, at the time of writing the MapReduce code, compulsory we have to provide the input path of the data and output path of the results. Okay, input path means if we want to process any data in Hadoop, compulsory we have to put that input data into HDFS. We have to put that data into HDFS. In HDFS, we can create a number of directories and we can put our data into any directory. So in place of input path, we have to provide in HDFS where the input data is available. We have to give that path in place of input path. And output path is nothing but after completion of the MapReduce, we'll get some results, right? So we have to store the results into again HDFS only. Okay, so in HDFS where we have to store, we have to mention some output directory also. Then after completion of the MapReduce job, the MapReduce results will store into that particular output directory. So we have to give input path and output path at the time of writing the MapReduce code, right? So whenever you will submit the MapReduce job, the MapReduce code MapReduce code will receive by job tracker. Then job tracker immediately contacts the name node. Okay, job tracker immediately contacts the name node. Why? Because name node knows actually maintain the metadata information, and name node only knows in cluster where the input where the data is available, which block is available in which mission, and which mission having how much data. Everything information exists in name node. Then job tracker immediately contacts the name node and it will ask the input data information. Okay, so based on that information, job tracker will submit the MapReduce job into slave missions. Okay.
Job tracker will submit the
job tracker will submit the MapReduce job into slave missions.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So whenever job tracker will submit the job into slave missions, in each and every slave mission we have MapReduce service, right?
Yes.
What is that? Task tracker, right?
Yes.
So for example, these are the three slaves we have, and each and every slave mission we have one data node and one task tracker. So in first data node, one block is there, B1 is there, and second data node, B2 is there, and third data node, B3 is there. Now, whenever we'll submit the MapReduce job, the job tracker take the input data information from name node, and based on that information, it will submit the MapReduce job into all the data nodes where the input data is available. So now the job tracker submit the job into data node 1, data node 2, data node 3, 3 data nodes. Why? Because each and every data node having input data, right? Now, whenever job tracker submit the job, then the job will execute by task tracker. Why? Because in each and every slave mission we have one task tracker, right?
Mhm.
In every slave mission, we have one MapReduce service that is called task tracker. So whenever job tracker will submit the job into slave missions, that MapReduce job will execute by task tracker.
Task tracker.
Okay, each and every task tracker will execute the job submitted by job tracker. Now, after completion of the MapReduce job, okay, after completion of the MapReduce job in each and every slave mission, then whatever the results are getting from these three different slaves, all results will send back to job tracker only. Okay, all results sent back to job tracker. Then job tracker again gives to name node, and name node again store that results into data nodes only.
Okay, so initially a MapReduce code will be executed. That will call the name node. From name node, it will get the metadata, and the job tracker will, on the basis of where the data is stored, the job tracker will assign it to slave machines, and after execute the task, the tracker will execute the task, and it will give the result back to the job tracker.
Yes.
And what after that?
Yes.
Again,
after job tracker again give the total results to name node, and name node will divide the data into again number of blocks, then distribute that blocks into again HDFS only, means data nodes only.
The result, they distribute the result in the data node.
Yeah, here we discussed, right? At the time of writing the code, we'll mention input path and output path, right? Okay, so in place of output path, whatever the directory will mention, for example, I will user output. This is the directory I mentioned. So after completion of the MapReduce job, what happened, whatever the results will get, the results will store into this particular directory, user OP directory in HDFS. Are you getting my point?
Yes, I'm getting the point. Yes.
Yeah. So basically, if you want to do the analysis in Hadoop by using MapReduce, first of all, you have to put your input data in HDFS. And after completion of the MapReduce job, the results again stores into HDFS only. Okay, I'll show you at the time of practice. I will show with you how to at the time of writing the MapReduce code, how to mention the input path and how to mention the output path. And after completion of the MapReduce job, okay, I will open that output directory and I will show the results also. Okay.
Okay.
So here the job tracker. What is the use of job tracker here? The job tracker is used for submitting the MapReduce jobs. Okay, submitting the MapReduce jobs into slave missions. Whatever the jobs submitted by the job tracker, okay, the jobs will be executed by task tracker. That is the use of task tracker. Okay, and we already discussed in between name node and data nodes, there are some heartbeat signals. There are some signals are available. Based on the signals only, okay, name node understood that particular data node is working fine. Why? Because each and every 10 seconds, all data nodes will send signals to name node. Based on that signals only, it will understand, right? If suppose name node will not get signal from any particular data node after 10 seconds, then name node will understand that particular data node is not working, right? So at the same, in between job tracker and task tracker also, there are some heartbeat signals on there. Each and every 10 seconds, all task trackers will send that heartbeat signals to job tracker. So based on the signals only, job tracker will understood, okay, that particular task tracker is working fine. Okay, if suppose after 10 seconds, the job tracker didn't get signal from any particular task tracker, then it understood that particular task tracker is not working. Okay, for example, here job tracker submitted the MapReduce job and the jobs are executing by task tracker. Now in first mission, MapReduce job is executing, and second mission also MapReduce job is executing, and third mission also MapReduce job is executing. Okay, so in first mission, after completion of the 50% of the job, okay, after completion of the 50% of MapReduce job, the task tracker is failed. Okay, this particular task tracker is failed. task tracker failed, but job completed only 50%, right? So when any particular job tracker, any particular task tracker fails, okay, if we have the replication, in our cluster, then job tracker will submit the same job to another task tracker. If suppose we don't have the replication, we have only replication value is 1. At that time, we can't do anything. The total job will be going to fail. Why? Because in first mission task tracker failed and job not completed. Only 50% of the job is completed, and we don't have the replication in our cluster. At that time, the total job will be going to fail. If we have the replication, okay, if we have the replication, then if this task tracker failed means, then obviously job tracker will not get the heartbeat signal from that particular task tracker. Then job tracker understood the task tracker was failed. Then job tracker immediately checked the task tracker is executing any job or not. If it is executing, is it completed or not? If it is not completed, then it will check on which portion of data, which block of data that particular task tracker is working. It is working on B1. Then it will check immediately where B1 is, other copy of B1 is available, which mission. If suppose it is available in second mission, then it will submit the same job to second mission task tracker. So in second mission, the task tracker is executing B2 of data, right? So up to completion of the B2 block processing, the first job will be going to waiting list. Once the B1 portion of data processing will complete, then that particular task tracker will execute this failed task tracker job. Okay, and one more point here in first mission 50% of the job completed. So after that it was failed. So whenever job tracker submit the same job to another task tracker, second task tracker, the second task tracker will execute the same job again from 0% onwards, not from 51% onwards. Why? Because here in first mission 50% job completed, and the 50% job results are stored in first mission only. Okay, after completion of 100% only, task tracker will send the results to job tracker. Okay. But here only 50% of the job completed, these 50% results are stored in first mission only. So that is the reason when this particular failed job submit to another task tracker, this task tracker again submit the job from 0% onwards, not from 51% onwards.
Okay. Yeah.
So here, and job tracker, how job tracker knows the which block is available in which mission is? Well, because whenever submit the job, immediately job tracker contacts the name node and will take the metadata information from name node. So based on this information, only job tracker also knows in cluster data which data is available in which mission. Okay, based on that information only, whenever any particular task tracker will fail, then it will submit the failed job to another mission.
Okay.
Yeah, this is clear, right?
Yeah, it's clear.
Yeah. So this is about job tracker and task tracker. So that means whenever you will submit the MapReduce job on Hadoop cluster, this will happen internally. Okay, the job will be received by job tracker, and job tracker will submit the job to slave missions, and the job will execute by task trackers and give results back to job tracker. Again, job tracker submit the results into HDFS only. Okay, this will happen when we'll run the MapReduce job. And we already discussed in Hadoop each and every ecosystem component like Hive or Peak or Scoop, everything are developed on top of HDFS and MapReduce, right?
Yeah.
If suppose whenever you will execute the Hive queries are going to convert MapReduce only. So MapReduce means again this will happen internally. Job tracker, task tracker will exist into the picture.
Okay.
So all ecosystem components are developed on top of HDFS and MapReduce. End of the day, whenever you will submit Hive jobs or Peak jobs, at the end of the day, all jobs will be going to convert MapReduce. But nowadays, one more ecosystem component came into the market, that is called Spark. Okay.
Yeah.
Spark is also similar to MapReduce only. Now, in present version of Hadoop, we have two options. Okay, you have two options. Whenever submit the Hive queries, whenever you will submit the Hive queries, basically in 1.x, obviously the Hive queries are going to convert MapReduce. But in present 2.x version, we have two options. you have to convert your queries into MapReduce jobs, or you have to convert your Hive queries into Spark jobs. We have two options. If you select MapReduce, then Hive queries will be going to convert MapReduce. If you select Spark, then Hive job, whenever you submit the Hive queries will be going to convert Spark jobs. Okay. But compared to MapReduce, Spark is execute the jobs very fast. Okay. So that is the reason most of means obviously we can choose Spark only.
And Spark involve programming.
Yeah, Spark also, it is also programming language only. We can write the Spark code by using Python or Java or Scala. We can use these three programming languages for writing the Spark code.
Is it easier than writing MapReduce in Java code?
Yeah, compared to MapReduce, Spark is easy.
Okay.
Yeah, Spark is easy. Okay. Yeah, and so these are the 5 daemons we have: name node, job tracker, secondary name node, data node, task tracker. Okay, so and in each and every daemon having its own port number. Name node, it is 50070, and job tracker is 50030. Okay, and data node is 50075, and task tracker is 50060, and secondary name node, it is 50090. Okay, and resource manager having also, it is also having its own port number. Resource manager port number is 8088.
So resource manager is a task tracker only?
No, resource manager is nothing but job tracker.
Okay, yeah, job tracker, yeah.
Job tracker, and node manager is like task tracker.
So why the resource manager and the job tracker have the different?
Yeah, so actually job tracker is MapReduce service, MapReduce daemon. In 1.x we are calling it as a MapReduce. 2.x architecture we calling it as ARM architecture, right? So in MapReduce daemons are job tracker and task tracker. In 1.x, in 2.x it is calling as ARM, and the ARM services are, ARM daemons are resource manager and node manager. Okay, so in 2.x they configure different port for resource manager. Okay, they configure different port, but when you access using this port, you can see same types of UI only, same type of UI only. Okay, so basically, what is the use of this ports? You know, using these ports, you can access these daemons from web UI. Okay, web UI. For example, I configure my cluster. Now I want to see my name node status. So my system IP address is, my cluster IP address is something like for example, my host name is localhost. Okay, my cluster host name is localhost, and now I want to see my name node status. I can give 50070 is the name node port. So whenever I enter, you can see after set up the cluster, only it will work. Okay, present in my mission, I will give some example. But after set up the cluster, whenever you will give your cluster IP address or host name, then you can give any port of name node or job tracker. Okay, if you want to see the status of job tracker or name node, you can give that port number and you can see the status. Okay, so whenever you enter like this, 50070 is a name node, right? Then it will show the name node status. Means name node is used for what? Storing the metadata, and it is having everything, right? In HDFS, how much data is there, everything, right? So we can see the status. We can see that status. How many directories are there? How much data is there? How many blocks are there? Okay, we can see all type of jobs, and how many live nodes, how many dead nodes, which node is working good. Everything you can see by using this port number. Okay, after set up the cluster, I will show anyway. Okay. And if you want to see MapReduce jobs, how many MapReduce jobs are running, how many jobs are completed, how many jobs are failed. If you want to show MapReduce status, you can use your cluster host name, for example, localhost. and job tracker port number is what? 50030. So after enter, it will show all MapReduce jobs status. How many jobs are running, how many fails, how many killed, everything you can see. So in 2.x it is 8088. It can also see the same status. How many MapReduce jobs are running or Spark jobs are running. Everything we can see by using these port numbers. That is the use of the port numbers. Okay. So each and every daemon having its own port number. Using this port number, we can access these daemons from web UI. And here, at the time of the cluster setup, okay, we have three important configuration files: core-site.xml and MapReduce-site.xml and HDFS-site.xml. So these are the three configuration files we have. These are the three, we call it as triplet configurations. Okay. So in core-site.xml, we'll configure HDFS daemons. So what are HDFS daemons? Name node, data node, secondary name node. These three will configure into core-site.xml file. Okay. In MapReduce-site.xml, we'll configure MapReduce daemons like job tracker and task tracker or resource manager, node manager. In HDFS-site.xml, we'll configure default block size is 64 MB, right? Now, if you want to configure block size is greater than 64, you want to configure 100 MB, then you can do this type of modifications in HDFS-site.xml file. Okay, and also default replication value in Hadoop it is 3, right? If you want to do the, if you want to change the replication value into value 3 to some other like 4 or 2, any number, then also you can do this type of configuration in HDFS-site.xml. Okay, so these are the three important configuration files. At the time of cluster setup, using these three configuration files only, we'll configure the Hadoop daemons. Okay. Hadoop architecture means the total Hadoop jobs will run by these 5 daemons only. Okay. At the time of running the jobs, we can't see these daemons status. Means we can't see these daemons. These daemons will run internally. Daemons means what? It can run internally. Okay. Clear, right? Mukta, any doubts?
No, it's clear. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Now we'll start the cluster setup. Okay. Architecture is clear, right?
Yeah.
Now we'll see how to install the Hadoop cluster, Hadoop pseudonode cluster. So pseudonode means single node. Okay. Actually, in Hadoop we have a pseudonode cluster and multi-node cluster. Pseudonode means single node. So single node means actually the architecture of the Hadoop is master slave. So in pseudonode means we'll configure master and slave in single mission. That is pseudonode. That means the single mission only acts as a master and slave. Multi-node means multiple missions, multiple masters and multiple slaves. That is multi-node cluster. Okay. So today we'll discuss how to set up the Hadoop pseudonode cluster. Okay, using Apache distribution. First, we'll discuss how to set up the Hadoop cluster in Apache. Then we'll discuss how to set up the Hadoop cluster in Cloudera distribution also. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a documentation for the Hadoop for single node cluster setup using Apache. We'll go to the document first, then we'll start the installation. So this is the document for how to set up the Hadoop single node cluster in Apache distribution. So we have some steps here. We'll follow the steps. Download the VMware, download and install VMware Player. So we discussed already, if you want to set up the Hadoop cluster, the recommended OS is what? Linux, right?
Yes.
Yeah. For suppose I'm using here Windows. Okay. Then we have to install VMware Player, virtual machine. Okay. We have to install virtual machine when we are using other OS. Okay. After installing virtual machine, in that virtual machine, we can install Linux OS. Then on top of Linux, we'll set up the cluster. If suppose we have in our machine we have Linux OS, then no need to install the VMware Player. Directly on top of Linux, we can set up the cluster. Okay. But here I'm using Windows. That is the reason compulsory install first virtual machine. So this is the link for downloading the virtual machine. Okay. And the second step is download CentOS. Yeah. So CentOS is a Linux flavor. In Linux, we have a number of flavors, right? We have Ubuntu, we have CentOS, Red Hat, Fedora, so a number of flavors. You can choose any flavor from these Linux flavors. Okay. Here we are using we are going to set up CentOS Linux. Okay. On top of CentOS Linux, we'll set up our Hadoop. Okay, and this is the link for downloading the CentOS. And after run the VMware Player and click on create new virtual machine. Yeah, we are going to set up new cluster, right? So after installing the VMware Player, open the VMware Player, and there is a one option called create new virtual machine. We have to select that option and click on that. Okay, I will show it to you. Then install VMware tools. Yeah. So actually the use of VMware tools is here my Windows is host OS. Now in virtual machine I install another OS called Linux, and that is guest OS. Okay. Now if you want to copy any data from host OS to guest OS, compulsory you have to install VMware tools. So without installing VMware tools, you can't copy the data from host to guest. Okay, so that is the we have to install the VMware tools. Okay, we'll see how to install VMware tools, and yeah, and the fifth step is install Java. Yeah, Java is must and should for running the Hadoop jobs. Okay, why? Because it will use Java internally. So compulsory we have to install the latest version of the Java. Okay, and this is the link for downloading the Java. And sixth step is what? Confirm your mission name. Mission name is host name. Yeah. Next, seventh step is configuring SSH. Yeah, this is the important. SSH means secure shell. So what is the use of SSH? You know, using SSH only, the cluster inside the cluster. Okay, inside the cluster missions will maintain the communication between one mission to another mission. Okay.
What is the full form of SSH? I didn't get it.
Secure shell.
Secure, okay.
Secure shell, okay. Yeah.
So why we need it?
Yeah. Why we need? What is the use of SSH? You know, by using SSH only, each and every mission maintain the communication between one mission to another mission. For example, in this diagram, we have 5 missions, right?
Yeah.
5 missions. So after installing SSH only, there will be communication between this master to this master, and each and every master to each and every slave, and this slave to this slave. Means by using SSH, each and every mission will maintain the communication between one mission to another mission. Okay. Okay. So compulsory we have to install SSH at the time of cluster setup. That is the important. And you know, for example, I'm in India. Okay. I have in India. I'm in Hyderabad. Here I have one cluster, and my company related we have one more cluster, but that is existing in USA. Okay. Now I want to connect. I want to connect USA cluster from Hyderabad. Okay. From Hyderabad. At that time, how we can connect that cluster? You know, by using SSH only. Okay, SSH, and we have to mention the IP address of that PSA cluster machine. SSH and IP address of cluster. Okay, in cluster, suppose we have 10 nodes. Okay, 3 masters and 7 slave nodes. So you can connect any mission. So you want to connect slave 2. Okay, for example, you have to connect slave 2 from Hyderabad. So SSH mention slave 2 IP address. Then enter. It will ask the password of that slave 2 mission. You can enter the password. Then it is going to connect the slave 2 mission. Okay. And you know, whenever submitting the MapReduce jobs, you can submit the means any Hadoop jobs. Okay, whenever you submit the Hadoop job, you can submit Hadoop jobs from any mission. Okay, you can submit the jobs from any mission. You can submit the jobs from slave 2 or you can submit the jobs from slave 3. Okay, when you will submit the job, it will be going to convert MapReduce, and again, this total process will be going to run internally. Okay. Once we start the practical, you will get clear idea. Okay. Yeah. We'll discuss this document. Yeah, that is the use of SSH. Using SSH, each and every mission will maintain the communication between one mission to another mission. So, how to install the SSH? We have some steps. We have some commands here. We'll discuss the commands. Okay, these are all red color are the commands. We have to execute at the time of execution, at the time of setup. And finally, 8th step is download the Hadoop. Okay, yeah, you can use this link for downloading the Hadoop. Okay, and these are the steps for installing the Hadoop. Yeah, Mukta, are you clear? Voice is clear? Hello.
I missed something because in before 1 minute, like it was everything got blank and it will again reload it.
Oh, really? Just yeah. This SSH step is clear, right? Hello, Mukta. Yeah.
I missed 8th step.
Yeah. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, yes. Are you able to hear me? Hello, hello, Mukta.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you, but sometimes your voice is stuttering.
Yeah, that is the same problem. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So after installing SSH, then 8th step is we have to install Hadoop. So you have to download the Hadoop by using this link. After downloading, we have to execute these steps. Okay, these commands. We'll see that one. And after installing Hadoop, 9th step is add Java location to Hadoop. Yeah. So in 5th step, we install Java, right? Now we have to configure. Okay, we have to configure that Java location into Hadoop file, Hadoop configuration file. Otherwise, Hadoop don't know where Java is existing mission. Okay, so add Java location to Hadoop so that it can recognize the Java. Then 10th step is update bash RC file. So in Linux there is one file called bash RC. So what is the use of that file? You know, in Linux, if you will install any new software, you have to provide that software home path into bash RC file. Okay. So, for example, in Windows, where after installing any software like Java, if you install Java, after install Java, we'll set the environmental path, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Similar to in Linux, if you will install any software, you have to provide that path where you can install the software. Okay, you have to provide that path. You have to put that path into bash RC file. Okay, then only it can recognize easily, right? So yeah, that is the use of bash RC. So in now we are going to install Hadoop and we are going to install Java and we are going to install each and every different ecosystems, right? For all these home paths, we have to put into bash RC file. Okay, we'll put into bash RC file. We'll see how open that, how we can put. I'll discuss with you. And after create a temporary directory. which will used as a base location for DFS. Yeah. So we have to create one temporary directory app Hadoop temp. Basically, actually using this is used for storing the metadata information. Okay. Name node is used for storing the metadata, right? So we have to create one directory, and we have to give the path to name node metadata. Then name node will store that metadata meta files, edit log and fs image into that particular directory. Okay, I'll show with you. I will start, and yeah, and finally what? Yeah, we discussed, right? We have three important
Yeah.
configuration files: core-site.xml, mapped-site.xml, and hdfs-site.xml. So in core-site.xml file, we'll configure hdfs daemons, and in mapped-site.xml, we'll configure MapReduce daemons, and in hdfs-site.xml, we'll configure block size and replication factors, this type of things. We'll configure into hdfs-site.xml. So these are the three important configuration files. Once these configuration files will be complete, then format your name node. Okay, using this command. So format your name node. And actually, whenever we are installing the Hadoop cluster first time, then only we have to format the name node. So never do the format your name node if you after putting the data. Okay, if suppose you will put some 100 GB data in the cluster, then if you will do the format your name node, what happen? Name node will lose the metadata. Okay, that is the reason never do the format name node if you have data in your cluster. Whenever we are installing the cluster first time, then only we have to format the name node, right? After format the name node, this is the command for start the Hadoop cluster, start-all.sh. Okay, then it will start all 5 daemons. Okay, yeah, this is the documentation for set up the Hadoop single node cluster in Apache distribution. Okay, now we'll execute one by one. So first step is what? Installing VMware player. So I already have all softwares I downloaded already. I will share with all the softwares through Google Drive after completion of the class. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. First we'll install VMware. And one more point, actually, the softwares are different for 32-bit operating system and 64-bit operating system. Okay.
So mine is 64-bit. You can share only 64-bit with me.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, VMware workstation. Okay. We can use. This is the VMware workstation. Okay. Click on next. I accept the license agreement. Next. Choose typical. Yeah, this is the default location. Means the software will be related files are stored to the right. If you want to change the path, you can click on here, change the path. Next. Next. Click on next. Click on next. Continue. Actually, in my mission, I already have this VMware installation already installed, but what happened, last week last 2 weeks, I think 2 days back, I formatted my system, so I lost everything. Okay, so that is the reason again I'm installing this VMware.
Okay. So we need to do both Apache as well as Cloudera.
Yeah, I will show the how to Cloudera installation also. Okay,
Okay.
we will plan that one week only. Now, VMware workstation installed successfully. Now open that one.
Okay.
So here we have different options like create new virtual machine, open a virtual machine, right? So if you are installing new Hadoop cluster, okay, new Hadoop cluster, then you can choose create new virtual machine. If you already have installed Hadoop files, okay, then you can use open virtual machine and you can select that Hadoop file. Then you can import into virtual machine. But present we don't have, right? We are going to install new Hadoop cluster. So click on create new virtual machine. Next, yeah, we are going to use install a disk image file. Okay, I already have that file. I already that sent. We are going to install CentOS, right? I already downloaded CentOS image. Click on browse and choose that file. Local disk. I'm using 64-bit only. CentOS DVD. Right? You can choose the CentOS DVD one. Okay. Next, I can mention some details here. Use some details like this username, HD user. Okay. Password. You can give any password. Maybe.
Are these credential optional or I have to use the same one, Hadoop, HD user?
No, no, your wish. You can give any names.
Okay.
Yeah. This is virtual mission name. So virtual mission means our cluster name. So default it is showing CentOS 64, but if you want to change your cluster name, you can give. I'm giving Hadoop underscore cluster. Okay. And this is the location for Hadoop. After installing Hadoop, the total Hadoop cluster related files are going to store this particular directory. Okay.
Oh,
Okay. If suppose in C default it is going to C drive, but if suppose you don't have space in C drive, you can change the directory also by using browse
okay.
directory. Okay. Click on next. Yeah. So this is the maximum disk size. So disk size is I'm going to specify 20 GB for my Hadoop cluster. Okay, default is taking 20, but if you want to increase, you can click here. If you want to decrease, you can click here. Just I'm giving this to 14 GB for my cluster, and select store virtual disk into single file, and click on next. Yeah, this is the total information, cluster information. Name is Hadoop cluster, and this is the location and version, VM workstation version. Okay, operating system is CentOS 64-bit. Hard disk size is 14 GB, and memory means RAM. I gave only 1 GB RAM,
Okay.
but because in my machine I have only 4 GB RAM. If you have more in your machine, you can specify 2 GB, 3 GB like that. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Click on finish. Now, yeah, see here. In left side, we got our cluster name, right?
Right.
Whatever the name I mentioned, that is mentioned. Now, it is installing Linux, CentOS. It is installing CentOS. Okay.
Okay.
So, in CentOS, actually, we have two types of images. One is DVD type of image, and another one is like ISCO file. Difference is DVD is automatic. It will do the automatic installation. Once you select, everything will be going to install automatically. But in disk image, we have to do the installation manually. Okay. That I'm using DVD one now. That is the reason it is going to install automatically everything. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Mukta, it will take 40 to 45 minutes. Is it okay for you, right?
I'm sorry.
Actually, the cluster installation will take 40 to 45 minutes. Is it okay for you? No problem, right?
What? Yeah. 40 to 40 minutes.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm. Yeah,
So
now
when
it is
it's
installed.
installed. So when
Yes.
we can wait, you can suggest me some tips for the certification and job and all that stuff.
Sorry, I didn't get you.
I'm saying when we are waiting for the installation, you can share some tips for the Cloudera
Yeah, yeah.
certifications and how I
Yeah, sure.
can get.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, now it is installing CentOS. Okay, it will take some 5 to 10 minutes time. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So now I will share what are the software required. I will share with you.
Mhm.
Yeah, actually here I have previous classes videos. Previous I showed previous classes. Previous classes. Mm, If this is the one that were mail ID.
Yes.
Yeah. We will download and we can use that one. Okay. Java, Hadoop, VMware. For classes of the deep key and typing. I will provide that key also. I will share that key with you. And once this class session will be in, and share the video also. Okay, and previous classes, whatever class previously, that classes video also I'll share with you tomorrow. Okay.
Okay. Do you have the WinZip also?
What, Mukta?
WinZip also, because I don't have the WinZip, I'm unable to open these zip files.
Okay, WinZip. We have the WinZip option also, but actually I make all the files into zip and I upload into Google Drive. But now again I have to what happen if you want to WinZip again I have to make it as a WinZip and again I have to upload to Google Drive. It will take time for me.
No, if you have a WinZip software,
Okay, you are asking software.
yeah, so that I can install into my system and I can open all these.
WinZip, so I don't have it. You can download from Google, no problem.
Okay.
I think that will automatically connect with the OS, right? I didn't what to install Windows. I don't have that software. At the time of format, yeah, I think I have to install separately, but I don't have much. I can try to download from Google. Okay? in Mukta, every Friday will not available for class.
Fridays I'm not available. On Saturday and Sunday I'm available.
Actually, Prakash told me. And is it possible to attend this Saturday at morning time in India in 7:30 a.m. IST to like 6:30 a.m. IST to 7:30 a.m. IST this coming Saturday? Is it possible for you?
Actually, that is our evening time.
Yeah, yeah. The one for Saturday, this coming Saturday.
So are you
From
not
next,
at the same time?
what Mukta?
Are you not available at the same time?
Yeah, I'm not,
9:30, or
I'm
you
not
can.
sure. I'm not sure. That is the reason why I'm asking. Maybe from next Saturday onwards, we'll continue same this time only. Only this coming Saturday, is it possible to attend in the 6 a.m. as to 7 morning time, India morning time, not from evenings, your evenings.
At what time?
6 a.m. IST to 7:30 a.m.
Okay.
Only for this coming Saturday. Okay. Can you
Okay.
please plan that? Because maybe I'm not sure whether I have I got some work that day. Maybe I will go outside. That is the reason I'm not even asking. But next week onwards, we'll continue same time. Weekends also.
Okay.
Actually, last Saturday also, actually Prakash told me we have class on Saturday morning, 7:36 a.m. IST to 7 a.m. 7:30 a.m. IST. I joined the meeting, but after an hour, he told me she's not joining. She has some meeting, and then I left the meeting. In which state you are staying, Praveen? Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, Mukta. Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, when we are using DVD ones, okay, here actually say VMware tools also install automatically, okay, and no need to
Okay.
install separately. If you see here, installing VMware tools, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So again, no need to install the tools separately. When we are using DVD one, it will install the tools also automatically. Yeah. Now CentOS installation completed successfully, and you can log in from here. So when you are installing Linux, the default user for Linux is root. Okay. Uh, yeah, actually, this Hadoop is at the time of installation. I gave some name, right? That is the name, and username I'm giving root because the default user for Linux is root, and password is whatever the password we mentioned at the time of installing CentOS. Okay, you gave some password, right?
Right.
Username, HD user password. Okay, you can use same password here for root also. Just a second. Okay. Yeah. So this is the desktop for Linux. Now you can execute next step. VMware installation completed, VMware player completed, and the CentOS installation completed, and VMware tools also completed. Next 50 step is what? Install Java, right? So I already have downloaded Java file. Yeah. Uh, Java, yeah, JDK, this is the file. You can copy directly this file and paste into Linux. Now you can able to paste. Why? Because tools installed, right? So if there is VMware tools not installed, we can't able to copy the data from host OS to guest. But now already installed the tools. That is the reason it is copying successfully. Now we have the JDK file on Linux. We have to install this .rpm file. Okay, .rpm is a file extension. Okay, now give right click here. Uh, Click on open terminal. Yeah. So this is the Linux terminal. You can everything you can execute through command line only. Okay. So yeah, pwd present working directory. Okay, present we are in this working directory. We are in root desktop, right? And yeah, if you want to show the list of files in desktop, type ls. So in desktop we have only JDK file we have. Okay, ls means list. Now we have to install this .rpm file. In Linux, if you want to install .rpm files, we have a command called rpm hyphen capital UVH, okay, and give the file name. Whatever the file you want to execute, give that file name. We have to execute this file, right? JDK's .rpm file. Give that file name. Okay, just type J and enter tab. It will take total name. Okay, don't write, no need to write the total name. Just give the first letter of the name and type enter tab. Okay,
Okay.
yeah, enter. Yeah, now it is installing JDK Java in Linux. Then this step is completed. And next, run this command, alternatives command. So alternatives is actually present. We are installing Java 1.7. So in future, if any new version will come, okay, we can update automatically. So if you want, we have to do update automatically. Then you can run this alternatives command. Okay, run this total command in single line, and copy the remaining part also. This one. Enter. Okay. Then next step is export Java path. Okay. Yeah. Using export command, we can set the Java home path. We are exporting Java path into user Java latest. Okay. But it will save this Java home path temporarily. If you shut down your cluster and again when you will open, okay, the path will be gone. Why? Because just you are running from command line. If you want to set the path permanently, you have to set this path into bash.rc file. Then only it will having the permanent path. Okay, we'll put that in bash.rc later. Yeah. Now, if you want to check the Java version, you can use the command javac -version. Yeah, see here, we got the Java installed version, Java 1.7.0. Okay, Java installed successfully. And next, confirm your mission name. So mission name is host name. You can use the command for know the cluster name, cluster host name. Just you can use host name command. So host name is what? Localhost dot local domain. Okay. If you want to see the IP address of your mission in Linux, you can use the command ifconfig. Okay, ifconfig. Then it will show the IP address. IP address is what? 192.168.255.128. This is the IP address for this host. Guest host.
Okay. Instead of ipconfig as in Windows, it is ifconfig.
Yeah, in Windows it is ipconfig. Here ifconfig.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, seventh step is what? Configuring SSH. Okay. So we know SSH is secure shell used for maintaining the communication between one mission to another mission, right? So this is the command. This is the command for installing the SSH server. So yum is a command, CentOS command. If you want to install anything from browser, okay, anything from browser, you have to use m command. So now, whenever execute this m install SSH server, okay, after enter, it will download SSH server from internet. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Enter. Now it is downloading the packages. Type S Y. Again Y. Now it is downloading from internet. If you want to download and install from anything from internet, you have to use m command. Okay, m install in Linux. In Ubuntu it is apt-get install. Okay, in Ubuntu it is apt-get. Here m yum. Yeah, complete. Then generate the key by using this command sh keygen. Enter. Here enter 3 times. Don't type anything. Just enter, enter, enter. Yeah. So it generated some keys. Actually, these are some public keys inside the SSH. So using these keys only, it will maintain the communication between one to another missions. Okay. Now we have to copy that keys into some particular directory using cat command. Cat is a Linux command. Okay, using this command, we are copying .sh id rsa.pub. Pub means public keys. We are copying these keys into this particular directory. Okay. You have any idea about Linux, Mukta?
Yeah, little bit. Yeah, little bit.
You know these commands like cat, ls, mkdir, copy, move, delete, rm.
Yes, some I know, some I don't know. Like ch mode, I know. Ch mode is for changing the mode, read,
Yeah,
write, and
change mode. Yeah, change mode, change ownership.
yeah. But I'm
Yeah.
not very fluent in Linux. I know little
Okay,
bit.
no problem. I'll discuss with you. Why? Because the HDFS commands are very much similar to Linux commands only. At that time, I'll discuss with you each and every command. And today I'll share with you one document related Hadoop, sorry, Linux commands. Okay, you can go to that document once.
Okay.
Yeah. That keys are copied into that particular authorized keys directory. Now, yeah, chmod 700. We are giving, actually previous step, we copied this public keys into this particular directory. Now we are giving read write executable permissions to that particular directory using chmod command. So 700 means any idea?
I think 00 means it cannot do that thing. I'm not sure.
Okay, no.
Execute.
Yeah, I'll explain you. So
Yeah.
actually in Linux, 700 means first 7, it is 7 for user
Read.
and
Mm-hmm.
user group other. Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
actually in Linux, we have read, write, executable permissions for any file or any directory. Compulsory we have to give, if we want to access that file, we have to give read, write, executable permissions. So for read, the value it is read 3 plus 2 plus 3, 4 plus 2 plus 1. Yeah, I think for read it is 3, write 2, and executable 2. So 3 plus 2 plus 2, how much? 7, right?
Right.
Yeah. So here, first 7 is for user. Okay. So 7 means what? 3 plus
Read,
2
write,
plus 2. So user having total permissions, read, write, executable permissions. And second one is what? Group.
0. Other
Yeah,
group.
0 means group having
Body.
no permissions. Okay. 0 means no permissions, right? And others also no permissions. So only user having the permissions for accessing this directory. Okay. If suppose you will mention 777 here, then user group others all having all permissions. When you mention 777, okay.
Yes.
Here, right?
Right.
Yeah. So we are giving the permissions to read, write, execute permissions to that particular directory for only user. Run the command. Yeah, we already done. Next step, start the service, SS service. This is the command for start SS service, SSHD start. So it will start the SS service. Okay. Then service IP table stop. Yeah. So we have to stop the IP tables. IP tables means nothing but like IP firewalls. Inside it is having IP firewalls. So we have to stop the IP firewalls must and should. Why? Because if IP firewalls are on, if suppose on condition, whenever we put data into cluster, at the time it not allows the data. Okay, get some errors. Okay, IP firewalls related errors. So compulsory, we have to start the IP tables or IP firewalls into Hadoop cluster by using this command.
Not
Okay.
clear to me this thing.
Yeah, IP tables means actually this is like IP firewalls, some security reasons. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So whenever, if suppose IP firewalls are start, okay, or start or on stage, whenever you will put some data into cluster, what happen, at that time, the data nodes don't allow the data. Why? Because IP firewalls are on state. So compulsory we have to off the IP firewalls. Okay. So that is the reason we are stopping the IP tables, or we can call it as IP firewalls also. By using this command, we are stopping the IP firewalls.
Okay.
Okay.
But why we are stopping? So that anybody can send, like, firewall is a good thing. Why we are stopping this one?
Why we are stopping means these are the firewalls means this like some security purpose only. But if firewalls are on stage, whenever you put some data into cluster, don't allow the data inside the cluster.
Okay. So if we, okay.
So must and should we have to start. Okay.
Okay, now I get it.
Yeah. Now check SH is working or not. So SH local host. So local host is what? Our host name, right? Okay. Yeah. Just type host name here. Yeah. We'll get local host dot local domain. So local host is a host name actually. So actually, what is the use of SH? Used for maintaining the communication, and it is used for connecting from one mission to another mission also. Okay. Now, present we are in desktop, right? If you see here, SSH give the host name, local host. Okay, enter. It is asking, are you sure want to connect? Continue to connecting. Yeah, type S. Yeah, see here now it is connected local host, right? Previously, actually, we are in desktop. Now it is connected to local host. Means by using SH we connected local host. Means SH is working fine, right?
Okay.
At the same, if you have multi-node cluster, okay. Now we have 5 missions here. Now you want to connect from slave 1 to slave 2. Then in slave 1 you can type the command sh space slave 2 IP address. Okay. SS space slave to IP address, enter. Then it will ask same thing. Or you want to should connect, it will ask like that, type yes. Then you will going to connect slave to directly. Why? Because SH is installed, right? So if you have SH in your cluster, then only it will maintain the communication from one mission to another mission, and at the same time will connect from any mission to any mission by using SH. And if you want to connect from one cluster mission to another cluster mission, I explained that my cluster is one cluster is in USA, another cluster in Hyderabad. I want to connect from Hyderabad cluster to USA cluster. Then you can use obviously SH only. By using SH only, we can connect. Okay. Using SH, we can connect from one cluster to another cluster. At the same time, we can connect from one mission to another mission inside the cluster. Okay. And also maintain the communication. So SH is important. Okay. Clear, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, Mukta, today can we start? Can I stop here? We'll continue tomorrow. Remaining steps.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So tomorrow we'll discuss how to set up the Hadoop. Then remaining means the core FN side XML, mapped FN side XML, HDFS of that. So how to configure that files. Okay. We'll discuss tomorrow, and tomorrow we'll complete the cluster setup, and also we'll discuss MapReduce architecture. Okay. So before MapReduce, we have to discuss about the HDFS characteristics. Okay. We'll discuss HDFS characteristics. Then how to connect, how to communicate with HDFS, means how to write the data into HDFS, how to read the data from HDFS. We'll discuss. Then we start the practicals of HDFS. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Today I'll share with. Okay. I'll share with you that Linux commands. We'll go to that commands. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Any doubts, Mukta?
No, Srinivas, it was great lecture. I understood your almost whatever you teach me. It's nice.
Yeah, thank you. If you have any queries, no problem, ask me. I'll clarify with you, okay?
I think when I will start installing by myself, that might at that
Yeah,
moment of time I can have some problems.
yeah, no problem. If you get any errors, I will connect your mission through team here and I will solve, okay? No? But we'll try first, okay?
Okay. Mhm.
Yeah. And I'll share with these videos with you tomorrow, okay?
Okay.
Yeah. Mm, okay, thank you, Mukta. Thank you for
Tha-
joining. Have a nice
Thank
day.
you, Srinivas. Yeah.
Yeah. Tomorrow also same time. We will join 9:40, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.